Hey there, YouTube land. Big Dave here. So I thought, being that the winter's here and I'm not doing much fishing, and I just brought in the other day my bag out of my car, not the bag out of my truck, which is a little bit different, but this is the bag that I carry in my car. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of tip this down because I don't have a sophisticated setup here. This is a pen bag. I've had this for quite a while, and it's got all kinds of goodies in it. But what I'm going to do is pull a few things out and just see what's going on in here, and maybe you'll get something out of it and think about something that could help you in what you're doing. So the first thing I always carry is I got this flashlight. Right now it's dead. See, that's why I brought it in, because this is going to have to be, oh, it's working now. Now it's bright. But I usually carry more than one flashlight. The other one I like, I really like this one. This is, I got this in Sears. It's a Craftsman, and you light it. Look how bright that is. It's amazing. It's got all those LED lights in it. I love it. And I bought them, they were on sale, and I got a couple at the same time, you know. So I'm always looking for see what I can find. Now what I'm going to do is pull out this stuff that's in the front of my bag, and even a surprise, this strange jig here that every once in a while I catch something on this. Look how the hook is in terrible condition. I bet I've had this for 10 years, and I leave it in the front. Every once in a while when I'm having a rough day and not coming up with the fish, I tie this on, and all of a sudden I'll catch a fish. So it's been around though. This is old. You know, it's kind of an interesting, weird, strange jig, but it does catch fish. All right. So we have broken scissors, but these little guys. I find these with a thick tip are easy for if you got to take out a bigger hook like a bass hook that's not too cooperative. I mean, usually you can just take them out by hand, but sometimes they're a little bit uncooperative, and you can use this with the thicker tip. Also, if you happen to have to deal with a turtle, no, I'm not talking about a big snapping turtle. I'm talking about just a little turtle with a shell, and maybe you hook onto the shell. They can be really hard to get the hook out, and this gets in there and, you know, just makes it much easier, and your turtle is free to go on his way without some kind of damage. These are the ones I use most of the time, and these have this elongated handle and a small tip, so I could deal with crappies or something else if without much of a problem. And I usually don't use barbs, so I can just go in there. And this is another thing. I made this. It's actually out of a piece of coat hanger, and the coat hanger goes down, and then I have a paper clip that's with a couple layers of tape. And what this does is I can, if by some chance, again, like I said, a lot of times I don't use barbs, but there's a lot of bullheads and stuff where I am. So you might pick up those bullheads, and they always swallow the hook. And this thing is really good for just going down, getting the edge of the hook, and popping it out, and it comes right out. Sometimes it's a little more trouble, but like I said, this is just a piece of paper clip that's taped onto the end of a piece of coat hanger, and I can get down on top of that hook, and off it goes. And some surgical scissors, stainless, because otherwise everything just rusts, even though I'm in the freshwater most of the time. And then we're into the hooks. You know, I use all kinds of hooks. My favorite are Gamakatsu. Those are my favorite. I'd rather use these than anything else. I mostly use size 4, but this is size 3, 3/0, and this is 4. But these are my favorite without any question. Sometimes I use Eagle Claw. I can get these really cheap. I don't like them as much. This is just regular 3/0 worm hooks, but they have a twist. And I crushed the barbs down. Those are good. This is the red ones. These are 3/0 Eagle Claw. These are good. There's nothing wrong with these hooks. These are good. They're just a little bit. I just prefer the Gamakatsu. You know. That must be a delivery. They're announcing. That's Sophia. She's announcing some kind of delivery. All right, so we're into the main part. And get the old this box here. Let's see what's going on here. This is a mess. I'm gonna do this quick because, you know, it's a little bit kind of fun, but it can be boring too. So I'm not gonna go through all these, but here's some stick baits. And this is an old one. What are they called? I forgot what these are called. Jensen, I think. Lord Jensen. These are old. I don't know if they have any markings on them. Just looking. But they're little helicopter baits. And in some seasons, you know, they're pretty effective. You can use them almost like a little popper, too. And then these are Hydrolure. This is, I don't know if you guys remember Hydrolure. Everything's tangled together here. This is a good bait. I don't find it that effective unless you're in a river, though, honestly. If you're in still water, it doesn't seem to do that much. So I don't use it that much, but if I'm in the river, it's very effective. Why? Maybe because of the way the tail moves. Maybe because of the way it sinks. I don't have an answer. And just some yum worms. And some Berkeley worms. These are just loose ones. Here's another interesting jig. This has been around for a while, and it's got this blade on the front. So it's like a, I guess you call it a blade jig. I don't really know. I mean, you know, I got this from another guy who was fishing near me, and he says, hey, did you ever use one of these? I said, no. And he says, check it out. It's really good. And so, honestly, I haven't caught anything on it. I just put a new, you know, bait on the back of this. So maybe when the spring comes, I haven't used this too much. Maybe in the spring, it'll have some effect. This is quite effective. This is a Rapala. And somebody gave this to me too. As a matter of fact, it's an interesting story behind this. I was fishing off the back of this big lake pond thing, you know. It's kind of in an off area. And a guy gave this to me, and he said, here, check this out. You know, he goes, I've got some really good fish on this. And he goes, and when you see me next, you can, you know, give it back to me. But the honest truth is, he was in really rough shape. He was going to have some kind of big heart surgery. And he was in bad shape. This is 5-6 years ago. And I never saw him again. And I kind of think he passed away, you know, because he used to go there, and I didn't even know his name, but he used to go in the back and kind of be to himself, you know, and I used to see him back there fishing, but then I didn't see him after that. That was about the end of it. So, like I said, he had some serious medical problems, and I think maybe he passed away. But anyway, we got this lure, and it's a great little memory of that day when we had some good times out there, you know, and if he enjoyed the time, that was even better. You know, just being with somebody else. And I used to remember his name, and I can't remember it anymore, you know. But for a while, I didn't even know who he was. This is a weird bait. It has its purpose in life. I find it doesn't catch many fish, but some days it does. So if you're having a rough day where they're not that cooperative, and you try something different that looks a little bit weird, it might have luck for you, because I don't know. It's hard to explain, but as a rule, I don't catch many fish on that bait. But every once in a while, on a weird day, it'll catch a fish. All right. The old standby jitterbug. And matching, what is it called? The wobble pop, or whatever these are called. I forgot what these are called. That's my problem. I've been using all these things. I don't know what they're called. You know, but that's the, it goes with the jitterbug. You can buy them sometimes in the same box. And they have the traditional screwed in eyes on the bottom. But they are good, and this is a good popper, you know, so you'll sometimes pick up a pretty decent bass on this. A jitterbug, my friend has really good luck with the jitterbugs. I can't say that I have as much result as he does with the jitterbug. I do better with the poppers. Just a little spinner bait here. Nothing spectacular. I don't modify it. I just use it. I think I took a striper on this in the river. This has not, where I am, the water's too shallow to do much with this in the where I'm at for the fresh water. But every once in a while, you might pick up a bass with it. It's better if you're in deeper water. You know, if I was on the boat and going out into deeper water, I would definitely use that. I always carry spinners, these little guys, because some days, this is a blue, whatever they're called. I forgot now, blue something or other. But they work. They have a little head on them. These are very effective for perch. I don't know what it is. It makes perch crazy. And they go nuts. And a small aglia, a little tiny aglia. This is good too. And you know what's interesting? This is really small. And I take one of the hooks off so that it's only a double hook. Because that third hook, if you catch a smaller fish with a smaller mouth, like a trout or something, sometimes it's hard to get it out and you end up, you know, ripping up their mouth. So the two hooks is much better and no barbs. It just comes right out. All right. Anyway, let's see what else is in here. A spoon. I have the hooks taken off it. Very not effective. I don't catch hardly anything on these spoons. Just doesn't get much going for me. So that's why the hooks are off. I use them on something else. Here's a spinner bait with my own contraption on the end. This catches fish. It's kind of really basic. Small spinner bait. Piece of, this might be a Yozori worm. I'm not sure what's on here. No, you know what this is? It's a Havoc. A Berkeley Havoc piece of worm. And then I have a rubber band on here with some, you know, some white strands. And this is a pretty good bait. And even though the hook's not really big, it's it'll take some decent fish. Again, this is so okay, and I have a trailer on here. It's okay. It's not fantastic. This is great. You can't get these anymore. That's it. Again, this is, I think, a Lord Jensen wooden. This is the old school. And I don't think it has any markings on it. This is taking some really good bass. And some really big crappies. It's good. Very good. And yeah, that's it for this box. And those are things that kind of, I don't know, they work for me, and some do and some don't. All right, let's just see one more thing in here for today. And because I have a lot of stuff, you don't want to see all this stuff, but some of the stuff is kind of, you know, has its purpose in life. So this is my worm box. And these are some of the things that are definitely are effective for me. This is one of my absolute favorites. 10-inch. Let me just see something here. This is a green pumpkin with the tail. Very effective. I like these. This is Reaction Innovations. And this is like a ribworm. It's a little bit different than the Berkeley ribworm. And they call this a pocket rocket, 5.5 inch. It's great. It's great bait, very effective, has a nice pitch to it. This is another one of my favorites. Sometimes I rig it regular, sometimes I rig it like a wacky. Just the zoom. These are great. And I rig them in different ways. And sometimes I cut them, make them smaller, and put them on the back of another kind of fixture. More Berkeley's, 7.5. I'm sorry, this is a ribworm. What do they call this thing? Rib snake. Rib snake. Now, I'll tell you what's the deal with these. These kind of rip apart. They're not real sturdy. But if you're having a rough day and you got to get in there and find that fish, these are very effective. And that's when I use them. If I'm having a rough day, I'm not getting a result, and I'll try some of those, and it's something about when it pulls through the water and it makes a ripple or whatever it does. Just more of these. Berkeley Power Worm. If I had to say I have a number one go-to, it's this 7-inch Berkeley Power Worm. That's my number one go-to. And this color also. Sometimes I use the 10-inch, as I showed you before. So, and this is just miscellaneous stuff. So that's my worm box. And I would say most of my bigger fish, and where I live, you know, up here in the East Coast, northern Jersey, you know, we don't have a lot of huge bass like down in Florida and Georgia and all that stuff, you know. So if you're catching 3 or 4 pounds up here, you know, that's definitely a bigger fish. Even the 4 pound is rare up here. So you catch a lot of 1 and 1.5 pounders. If you get into the 2.5 to 3 pound, you're decent. That's good. And then in certain times of the summer and stuff like that, or right when the frost clears, March, you will occasionally pick up something that's close to 4 pounds, and then you've done okay. And I'm talking about, you know, on the scale, 4 pounds. And my friend lives down in South Carolina. My other friend lives in Florida, and they're always sending me 8 pound, 10 pound bass and bigger. They love to give me a hard time with that stuff, you know. Did you catch another minnow today, Dave? So, but it's all fun. And I mean, around here, if you go out and pick up a 3.5, 4 pound bass, you had a good day. That's just how it is, you know. And occasionally you'll get something bigger, and usually they're at night, in the dark, and they'll be hanging around the edge somewhere, and you won't even expect it. You'll just kind of throw that worm out. It's got to be quiet, barely making any splash or moving, and then all of a sudden you'll just feel the weight. And the one night I caught, it was a sizable bass. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say, I don't know, it was maybe around 6 pounds or a little more. And like up here, that's big bass. Unless you're in one of the lakes. In some of the lakes, there are bigger bass. But in most of the open waters here, the bass are just not that big. And if they are, they're way off somewhere, and you'll be lucky if you find one, because they're always eating live bait. They have so much live bait that they're just sitting there. They're, you know, if something goes by, crawfish. They love crawfish. So if you put a live crawfish on the bait, you will have a better chance of catching one of those bigger ones that's very aloof. Other than that, excuse me, you could throw them rubber worms and all day long. They're not interested. You know, they're sitting there eating live bait, and they barely moving. I've seen them, you know, I mean, I know, like, you can see every once in a while you'll just see them, and you know it's not a carp. It's a bigger bass, but they're so aloof that they're just, they're not interested, because they're just eating live bait, and they know the difference. So you can throw them that worm all you want, and they don't care. All right, so that's it. Happy New Year, 2021. Hopefully we'll get rid of this virus and all this stuff, because it's terrible. And one of my neighbors passed away around the block, and it's just bad stuff. And we're just hoping for the best, and let's hope this all rolls in the right direction. Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.